Call the meeting to order with pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry. And we are to start with the continuation of the public hearing for 490 Sagatonic LLC.
Hello, board members. Brian Lancaster with the Adam Miller Group, attorney for the applicant. I'm not sure if anybody is going to be able to make it today, but as you know, this application has been before you for quite a few months now. Last month's hearing, some comments were made, so we revised the plans, we reduced the glazing on the ag facing side. As requested, remove the barn door fixture. House, we've added some windows and some more regularity to the windows on the front facing side of the house. And I probably best to just kind of jump right into the drawings and go over the changes. Just to keep going, sorry. All right, so here, so as you can see, we added windows on the upper level. And we windows on the lower portion, the lean-tos are now consistent windows. So they were irregular, two different shaped windows at the last rendering. Hey, you had unchanged. You can keep going. Here on the rear side, I think is where the most changes were made. You can see on the upper level windows, there are comments made that there was just too much glass glazing, basically a wall of glass. We reduced those bottom on the upper level windows, so more separation between the windows. These are now down at about 70% glazing for this side. We removed what was the barn door fixture that was originally, suggested by the board at the very beginning of this process. So we removed that at the comments at last month's hearing. Probably going about as far as we can with these comments we received from where we started today. So hopefully we can work this out and move to the decision.
Yeah. Okay, I'll open it up to any members of the public who would like to come forward and speak. Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to say something?
Yeah, Henry Weisberg here.
Thank you, Henry, for your submission earlier.
Okay. So, I just wanted to make sure that you had my February 16 letter and, which pretty much speaks for itself, but I do think it's crystal clear that the facade of the east-facing facade of the house, as well as the large garage, fully faces Main Street and is not, tucked away behind other buildings. Therefore, my objections to both those buildings, remain in place. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
I'd like to say something if there's.
Thank you, John.
Introduce yourself, please.
I'm sorry. So can you hear me?
Yes, what is your name, please?
Yep. No, I'll get there. I'm John Gans, and I'm a resident of 640 Sag Main Street, which is firmly in the historic district. And, although I haven't made comments before in looking at this, and trying to understand the historic district. I don't understand. This is clearly a contemporary house. And I don't understand with the visibility and the sight lines, how the architectural review board or the town or how this fits in with the historic district. And, I would respectfully request that that the Architectural Historical Review Board requires a total redesign of this building to be more consistent with the historic district, and that this is the village mission of to maintain the rural agricultural integrity. This isn't even close. So I'm not looking for a defense of that right now, but I just, as with the Main Street being the backbone of the historic district, I just don't understand how this fits in at all with what we're trying to accomplish. So thank you.
Thank you. I think that the board consider ourselves less as a group of experts than sort of willing participants able to represent people like you. So every time we get direct feedback from you, it's very important, really valuable. So it's really appreciated. And it seems that the village and its residents, their expectations for this area on the historic corridor, on a registered historic piece of land, is to really take a 100% preservationist point of view, as the people submitting have shown their aptitude towards it in the buildings on Sag Main Street. But I do believe that's sort of where we are. So I thank you for that.
Anyone else who would like to say anything? Okay. You want to say anything before we go?
No, Ron covered, what's the design intended and not changes.
Okay. So I'll agree with Tony in saying that our job is to preserve the character of the village. And the exact language is designed strikingly dissimilar to its surroundings. Don't really have a place in the historic district. And so I think that the current facade of the home is not, the design is not appropriate for the village as it stands now. And I think the references to the agricultural structure are right and fair. But however, this is a residential home and it does have residential elements to it. And so therefore it's mixing styles and it does feel more of a modern barn, which there is no precedent for in the historic section of Sagaponic. So if you were going to go barn, you have to kind of go more barn. And then it looks like the carriage house or the boarding house in front of it, then maybe that's its barn. That looks and feels like Sagaponic perhaps. Or this takes a much larger turn into a traditional home that resembles, I've actually taken the liberty. You could drive down Sag Main and see bits and pieces of these homes, but this is a photograph of the facade of every home in the historic district on Sag Main Street. And I took, just for my own, our own, just to make sure we really knew what we were talking about, I put the current design in with those, and just to see how it would fit in. So if anybody wants to go and take a look, feel free. But I think that the elements that are currently making up the design as it stands now are not typical of the historic district.
I have one question. Are any of these houses on flag lots as our houses? If you drive up and down Sag Main Street, there are flag lots that are removed from a historic district that do emulate more modern barn architecture. I just think that's worth noting here.
It is. We've talked about that as well. So may I ask if you want to?
Sure. Well, yes, I understand what you're saying. And I also think that it's qualified by the fact that I think this subdivision that affects this lot was after that 2017 document that you were citing, and the fact that the visibility of this particular lot is front and center. So the board is taking, a stand on something that might be further removed. So either way, the board still has to review all of the construction that happens in the village, and they're viewing this within their purview. So I think either way, they are taking it into consideration and have looked at that language, but it's still within their purview. So their comments are as it fits in with the neighborhood, the character of the community.
But all of these houses are directly on Main Street though, right? None of these are flag lots.
They are on Main Street. A fair amount of them are set back from the street. A fair amount of them are up on a hill. A very fair amount of them you can barely see. I had to really dig and scoot around to get pictures. So I was just trying to expose the houses as they are, right? So whether there's landscaping or not, our job is the structure itself.
So, Chairwoman, in reality, if you were doing a comparison between the home that we have and what you see on Main Street, you would obviously show a street view. It would not be the view that we're seeing currently, because this is from within the property, looking back at the home. The nature of the distance has a clearly significant effect on the public perception. Your point here is to underscore public perception. So in all fairness, the public perception of this home, which is 350 feet back, would be the street view, not this view. And I think that is important to, we do this to clarify our design to you, but it shouldn't be conflated with the public view, because it is not. So
our job is to address the building, the structure in itself, separate and apart from where it lies. So there is visual discord with this current design into what currently exists in the historic district.
I mean, in the last hearing, we actually had this exchange, and I believe Mr. Woods was clear. We agreed to have another shingle-style house at the back. The 4 shingle-style house isn't necessarily good for the fabric of Sagaponack as it exists today. And we've maintained since we first came here that our intention is to be a historic structure that aligns with the agrarian nature of Sagaponack. Arguably a quality of Sagaponack that is the most historic. So in some sense, sort of to quote unquote traditionalize this will leave us neither here nor there.
Okay, so then if you would prefer that it skews barn, this has to then look like a barn.
I mean, in our last presentation, arguably, it was more barn-like. There were more features of the windows and such on the street side that were removed, more open flanks, i.e. more barn-like. It was your intention or your desire to kind of tone it down from the street side, which is what we've done. But furthering that goal doesn't mean making this more traditional. I feel our initial impetus in this project was to be very clear, to say this is off the farm and not off the street, as other houses on Main Street are. We've been completely cognizant of the fact that this does not mean increased glazing percentage is acceptable. We have worked really hard. This is less than 15% right now, this street face. So, I mean, either we go like a utilitarian structure, which is what we had done originally, or sort of, try and get to a place which is a little bit more let's call it domestic in scale, which is what we're intending to do. But we can't really just have a traditional home, because that's not what we've maintained since we first came here.
The other 3 facades of the home, though, do skew a little bit more traditional home, even though they have some flat roofs and clean angles. But I think right now it's trying to both be a residence and an agricultural building. And I don't think that there's no precedent in the historic district.
I mean, this is a stylistic question, right? This has come up before in our conversation that this is, a home. I totally grant that. But in some sense, architectural language is interpreted. A colonial or Victorian design isn't in fact colonial or Victorian, right? It communicates ideas. And so here we're drawing from the agrarian character of Sagaponack, which again is arguably the most historic. So, it's if you're accepting a Victorian home here in contemporary reality, you should be accepting some other design that's taking authentically from its neighborhood, which is agrarian.
Anyone else like to comment? Design.
I mean, I think you already have people on this board who have concerns, particularly in this sort of sacrosanct area, sort of the last place we have that truly maintains traditions. And then some of their misgivings are reinforced by the public. I see it difficult for something non-traditional getting through the board at this point.
There are elements of the home that do feel like historic district in Sagaponack. 2/2 windows, the shed roof, the shingles, but the elements of the, as you're calling them, lean-tos, are not there. These vertical windows on the bottom are not. So I really feel also the massing is very wide on the whole, which doesn't feel typical unless we are in a head barn, in which case that would feel like Sagaponack. But as it stands now, this is really neither barn nor traditional home, and I think we see both of those things in Sagaponack. We don't see them together, and I think that you're a skilled architect, and it's exciting. This plot of land is exciting where it is, and this particular home doesn't fit on this particular plot of land. In Sagaponack, there are many, many, many styles of architecture and new and exciting experimental designs all the time, which we appreciate and accept on different parts of land, not in the historic district, unfortunately. So I would respectfully ask that you could come back with a different design. We've asked numerous times for the facade to be different or to feel like the other sides of the home, and you kept coming back with this elongated 2 front sheds design. So that hasn't changed. And I suppose we should address the garage, because let's just say it was the barn. The barn wouldn't really have a garage, right? So that we'd have to address sort of that, how that feels together. And because the home is very, very wide now, if you went traditional, that's 3-car garage, which has a high roof and is very wide also. I feel like either turning it or setting it back in some way so it's more diminutive. I think I agree with Henry. There's no precedent for a garage being on the same plane as the front of the house, even though this is turned, which helps a little bit. There's no precedent for the garage being on the same plane as the facade of the house. Unless they're
We had
connected.
this conversation extensively last time, and I think there's a statement there that you mentioned that the garage does not face the street and in fact faces the back of the parking lot of the general store. So I thought that point was established. And the reason we gave for the location of this garage being in this arrangement with the house and why it isn't on its neighboring properties is because those properties are too narrow for this type of arrangement. Again, by distance, we are further back from any other property on site.
Well, Henry is not wrong in saying that if there's a garage, it's attached to the house. And in this case, when they're detached, you don't see them. I think the drive area, this is already, you've got a drive coming in the front. There's also maybe 10% of those homes have drives where you go in front of the house to pull up. Most of them have them on the side. So to then have that drive in the front of the house, be able to park in front of the house if you want, and then also have all the parking in front, it changes the view altogether of the home and the experience of the barn, because I don't think that the barn would have a bunch of cars parked in front of it.
I barns are all kinds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there would be a tractor.
Yeah.
Again, speaks to why this is a flag lot should be distinguished from all these other lots of reference, why they weren't left out of the historic district. This lot we studied was one large lot, that historic house still remains. Garage being placed behind that. I understand the comments made, you were directly on Main Street would be included in the conversation, but the clear distinguishing factor here, this lot is very unique in that regard. I don't think you're setting any precedent that's going to create something that you easily distinguish this from any other lot up and down Main Street corridor.
But the land has been designated historic, correct? Public hearing or?
Yeah. Do you want to make a motion to close and continue?
Continue it until it's approved, I think. Okay. Is there anyone else who wants to?
No.
I mean, I think I'll just say, after hearing our public and all the comments they have to say, it's just very hard to approve the plans as they are, given the diversity in the comments of them. I mean, we have so many different facades to take into account in the historic district, and just taking that into consideration, something in keeping with it would be a bit more appropriate for such a spectacular lot and such a highly visible lot in the historic district.
Can you go to the street facing side, please? So my goal is to obviously use whatever I can to get Michael and Heather home that they love. That's my principal goal here. I and my team will go back and do what is required to the best of our ability. But I think it's important that your directive right now, what I'm hearing is this large flank of a roof is creating the hesitation on your part. I'm trying to be specific rather than just say quote unquote traditional, because that is a wide variety. I'm trying to make it so that the massing of this structure visible from the street is toned down. Okay, and right now what I'm seeing you perhaps reacting to is this large roof that's there. That's where this notion of the barn comes about. I treat it as an agrarian structure that is accretive. Barn as a design style is, to me, like a fallacy. This is an accretive design, right? And is taken from the agrarian quality of the background. So, to specifically address your concerns, is it this large roof that if we kind of address, that would assuage, first of all, your concerns and then the public's?
I think it's more than that. I think the two lean-tos in the front, there's no reference for that happening on a barn. I think the modern windows are not harmonious with the windows that are looking and feeling like Sagaponic.
The bump out in the front as well.
Yes,
The lean,
this cubic volume here in the middle.
that doesn't bump out, actually.
It's just it's this cubic volume here in the center of the house that is the stairwell. There's no historical reference for that. So, I mean,
The vertical windows, this part. And our job, in our code, it says new construction shall be compatible with the character of nearby properties in the historic district.
Yeah.
And this,
My point, and I think our team's point is always been, there is one way of looking at all homes, and they have to be traditional with white trim and red cedar shapes.
there are very many styles here.
And just
happening.
as this is also a style which is which takes from the local agrarian tradition. Again, reverting back to the comment made last time, another shingle style house at the back isn't necessarily a net positive. I'm totally, like I said, I will use whatever bandwidth I have in my teams to come back with another version which compares to the massing and the scale. And yes, if the windows are something that you want us to look at, sure. But the quality of this structure, which is accretive, I cannot, and we maintain that from the jump. Making a rectangle with large flanks and calling it a barn, sure, there are many examples of them out here. I don't think serves anybody's purpose.
I think a mixture of styles is not going to work because we have to have it feel like the historic homes that are around it, surroundings. So the view that the neighbors have, the view that you appreciate of the traditional homes in the area, that should be the view that the neighbors have of your home. And that's not happening right now.
Pat, could you go to the ag view, please? If you don't mind. Or the north, yeah, the ag view. Okay, so this view we've talked about in the past, and you've in fact stated, why can't the street side of the house be like this side?
There would be probably too much glazing, from my perspective, but it is much more palatable and feels a little bit more acceptable. I would have to address that as the front separately. It's hard, but that's getting there. How does anybody else feel about that?
I mean, it's always had more elements than the front.
So are people accepting of this in its present state and the north and south facades?
North I particularly like, I think.
Yes.
Not like, at the north view, I feel. Yeah. That references, some of the roofs that you showed here, that looks and feels
Right.
like a barn
Yeah.
inside of
Yeah.
that roof, yes.
Yeah.
Even though it does have some clean, modern detailing with the windows and so I think we're trying to keep it modern while also having a nod to the traditional shapes and forms that works.
Okay, so, but we all recognize, Pat, if you don't mind going to the ag side view as well. The ag side view, there's a corollary on the right-hand side to the northern elevation, correct? So the great room and the living room has a corollary to the north side, right? It has the same shape, basically, right? The only, I guess what you're reacting to is on the street-facing side, all of this is lost and there's simply a large volume. That is what I'm getting at. So okay, that's a challenge. We will work towards getting this kind of sensibility towards the street side. As long as there's a recognition again that what we've maintained from the get-go is this home responds to an agrarian-ness. As long as we're not sort of in the wilderness on that point, I feel we can do something.
It's hard to say without seeing it. Do you feel that the north and south sides do that for you?
When you say street side and the ag side?
No,
The pool side.
The pool side.
right, the
The opposite.
yeah.
I mean, the pool side is a elevation with a series of windows in the middle. I feel this is in terms of our understanding and our design intent, a agrarian structure. Yes, it has a flat roof, sure, but that is it's a plinth with a pitched roof structure above it. Now, if the windows need to be a little more traditional, sure, yeah, you can do that. But it's a series of windows, and there's a purpose there for those windows. It's the primary bathroom.
I really don't feel comfortable saying if we would pass that as the front of the house, it still has some modern elements that don't feel like.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to suggest that this would be the front.
Right, that's why it's hard for me to say, but because I do think.
I'm responding to the northern elevation and the ag elevation as elevations that you've all said is in keeping with where this is feeling comfortable for you. I'm saying using those elevations as ways to quote unquote improve the street side elevation.
Does anybody want to comment on particular elements of the ag side so that we could say what would be acceptable?
Personally, you obviously know my opinion on the matter. Having broken up the large plate of glass, I feel, the renderings seem accurate, the materials you've shown us. And I think nighttime illumination, it wouldn't look that dissimilar from a traditional place. And I'm not sure if the gambit is to make this front sort of an unflinching, purely sort of Puritan type bar, like almost to the point of cosplay to get your.
I totally agree with you. That is that is what I want to avoid. I don't think that's the right thing to do. This doesn't have to look like every other modern barn out there. That terminology seems not right, and therefore the creative nature of those sheds in the front, respectfully, are actually a net positive. That's the way these structures evolve. It breaks the scale down.
I agree, it breaks the scale down. There's just no reference for it, unfortunately.
Yeah, so that's why I'm suggesting that if the largest thing on the front on the street side is the large flank of the roof. That's where most bang for the buck would come in terms of addressing scale, and that's what we'll do.
I look forward to seeing what you come up with.
We will continue the open hearing.
You want to do what's the next date, March 25th?
Yes. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to continue the public hearing for March 3rd.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
At the end of the next meeting, March 25th?
Yes. March 23rd.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Megan, don't mind if the minutes are not ready.
Oh, they're not super.
So I could see.
They tricked me with these. What? They tricked me. Yeah. A little later than normal.
Are you ready?
Ready when you want.
Yeah.
Did you move on?
Okay, so there we have approved by committee of 53 Hedges Lane. And we'll move on to old business, new construction, 99 Farm View Drive.
Hi, everybody, nice to see you again. Joshua Rosenzweig, David Griffin from Austin Powers Assistant Architects, and John Hamilton and John Bennett. John Hamilton from LaGuardia Design. It's been a nice journey with the board thus far. We've made a lot of refinements. I'm not sure if we should go back and recap every element, but I think the board is, yes. I think the board knows that since we first met about 4 to 5 months ago, we've taken a lot of the comments to heart. We created a lot more synergy in the overall context of the design. Now you see collimation, you see refinement, you see less of a departure from one vocabulary in terms of how it joins each roofline. Based on the last meeting, we were leaning in a bit on focusing on the front elevation as it relates to more the main dormer that separates the two gables of the front facade. And I'd like to hold up this image here. Once upon a time, we were comparing the original house to where we are currently. We've sort of said goodbye to that. We've made so many refinements together that looking at the original design of the house is really not relevant anymore. So now we're comparing this particular slide, and we've remade a model for the house as well, which we can pass around. Some of the major refinements from the last time that we met was that we actually reduced an entire light 2 feet from the central dormer here and complementing reduction of the scale and position of this dormer. So in the new elevation, we've now reduced the overall height of the dormer by 2 feet, taken down the actual dormer over the front entry. Getting a lower percentage of glass wasn't the main goal. I think we've already exercised a huge reduction in glass, not just cumulatively, but on each facade. And I think the board was happy with our efforts in that particular department. But we did lose an additional 1% of glass in this execution.
I think another thing is that we also, it reads more when you look at the 3D, we kind of try to tuck this window down and create a little bit more overhang to create a little more shadow to not make it as tall and apparent right in your face. So,
and another major element in terms of what we did the last time, let me just pull up this next slide here, was on the west elevation, where the boot room entry of the house, as we know, we come around the building facade as we're rotating the site plan right now. You're coming around the actual garage, and that's your secondary entrance. We've actually eliminated all glass on the actual entry door going into that space, and have also reduced another light of glass proportionally to the entire entrance area, so that you're actually gaining a lot less glass on that facade now.
okay.
Yeah.
And we've carried the planking that we've actually had on the other elevations underneath that rhythm. Still maintaining the composition that we're going for, but also reducing the glass, which I think is also important. We're happy with the way that that has evolved. And secondarily to all of this, we did get some of the newest technology in bird glass. And this particular glass here, you have the sheet that we're proposing for the front facade and the rear facade, where you have the tallest structure of glass. This is the most new product on the market for bird glass, where this is what the bird sees and this is what we see. Okay.
And this is it right here.
This is it right here. It does come at a large cost, but we think it's important, especially because I know that we were talking about those two elements. So this would certainly also be something that we can offer, and we're proposing for that main front dormer and the rear dormer.
For the, this linking.
Yeah, the linking portion.
What's the percentage it says there? It says less than 30. What is that? Last one I did.
Yeah, less than 30. I think it's about 25 with product.
The threat factor?
Threat factor
Score of less than or equal to 30 from the American Bird Conservancy. And the actual, that's what the bird sees.
Right.
Not to mention, this is not large plate glass. We have divides in it that create the vocabulary of this architecture. We're not proposing, a large plate of glass. So this is going to help, but also the moves that we've made with all of the board's recommendations in creating more columnation, reducing the width of glass, creating more divides, that naturally would help regardless. But we just thought it would be nice also, because I know it was a question, to propose this as well. And those were the two main focuses from our last meeting. Again, the model doesn't really show you the full materiality. We've already agreed to understanding what we're proposing for the materials. We did our best here with the model, but we do have that sheet of the original materials as well. We can pass it around too, if anybody wants to.
I would love that.
Yes, of course. I don't believe you were here at the last meeting.
No, I missed it. Yep.
So please. And also just bringing up page 14. Again, was the material palette that we first in our first hearing brought in all the full scale mock-ups of what's going to be a much more muted palette of the silvers and the wood tones from the yellow cedar.
Love 3D model.
It's been fun making ones.
Sure, it's a challenge.
It helps.
Excuse me.
It's really movie. Yes.
Yeah, we'll do that.
We've taken out all of the trees. Again, I think the board remembers my comments about really judging the architecture with the integration of the landscape architecture. So it's a little different, but.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
I think there've been a lot of improvements. I think taking out the lights to make the windows a little more traditional help with the night initiative. The only misgiving still is sort of the light well for the staircase. Given the nature that it's a staircase, it will have to be actively lit for function, not just for mood. And then it's a permanent element for everyone surrounding it, for a space that ultimately is sort of a transient space.
Going 3 floors.
Yeah.
And one of the hardest metrics to deal with when it comes to story above grade plane Sagaponic is the lower level, trying to create as much ambient light as possible into those spaces, you know, with such a minimum amount that we can have exposed for the grade planes. So they do help facilitate actual natural light coming into an area that is being occupied as sort of
Okay, yeah.
It's hard because we can only have in Sagaponic so much exposure to light from the lower level because we're counting where the grade is relative to it, but we definitely use that tool to bring light downstairs to the lower level so it doesn't feel like a basement as much as we can.
Yeah.
Certainly made small amendments for the glass, but I think overall it's not far enough for my taste. I think there are some. The main one in the front, the pass through on the front feels still like not enough of a. Just, I think, be more passable if the second floor, if it were cut in half, honestly. Be so well.
Or if it-
To speak up.
Sorry.
Well, maybe if it read as 2 sets of windows, with a little more space in between the mullions.
You mean between the groupings of
Yeah,
the windows,
yeah,
the top groupings and the bottom groupings?
Yeah, I mean, if possible, then it could read with nighttime illuminations as 2 sets of windows on 2 floors. That would be, I think, indistinguishable from most of the other houses in the area at night. Even incorporating one of the various wall materials in between the 2.
Yeah, the fine line we found is we start adding opacity to those panels. You know, there's a fine line where it loses.
It's a sort of inflection point.
Yeah. So we gotta be I understand what you're saying, but you gotta be careful. We have to work out all the proportions again, which may, you know, I think we almost took it as far as we could. I mean, we could.
Yeah, taking the entire light off the top 2 feet down, allowing that roof also not to sort of dominate the experience of the view of the front. Right, so that, you know, there's something to say about, you know, a lot of traditional design and roof lines, you know, making that sort of roof come down to the first floor even, which we love about this. There's really no facade in this building where it's predominantly a pediment that is 2 stories tall. But how far down you go with that roof, taking it down 2 feet kind of puts it almost at eye level now. Any further lower, it would be at sort of, you know, chest level and.
Yeah. Well, this would be in between the 2, so it might block some of the.
It's the leg, yeah, it takes leg, cover your leg, kind of on the second.
I appreciate
floor.
there's a point where it gets too chunky for it to.
Yeah, you got it.
You know, there's also, you know, if you thought maybe sort of a series of battens across the top would be, you know, and again, I'm not saying that that's the answer.
Yeah.
Just curious to know if you thought that might be a helpful idea as well.
It also doesn't need to be as wide as it. You could just eliminate the left and right panels. In fact, it's easier math. I feel like we the roof line and the materials and the window shapes as they are, despite the size, does everyone feel that the home's style is getting a little bit more?
I feel like given the scale of it and the location, it sort of definitely has some experimental aspects, but I feel like it can fit in there.
Everyone, do you guys agree with that? Or do you feel like it still needs a little bit more tailoring?
I don't know. It's interesting. It's different. I think Tony, bringing down the glazing is really my biggest thing. It's too much. You know, you came down 2%, which is great in the front, but it's still, it's a lot.
And I'm not sure if you were at the last hearing.
I wasn't.
Just to let you know, David, can you pull up the glazing ops for a minute? Since we've been together, we've reduced this entire project down almost more than a third on the glass. And again, we all want you to be happy with the application, but the history of our journey with you is important. Again, we could have started at X, that wouldn't have been fine. I get that. But I think we've all responded to where we're at right now, being at 23.2% overall, where we originally started almost at 40. Granted, that was probably the wrong place to start. I get that.
Yeah,
but we've been at the last hearing, the board, at least the board that was here, was thinking that we were on the right track in terms of glass percentage. We still then took it down another 1% total. That wasn't our goal. That was as a result of the refinement of the front entry roof line. Just so that you know that we've been down the journey of refining glass since the first hearing.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
all. I didn't want you to
appreciate
think
it.
that was the only cut. That wasn't.
I appreciate it, but I think still bringing it down a little bit more would help move things along. Are the battens going to be stained, or is this just going to be natural?
One of the vertical cedar cladding there is all stained. It's all natural to be left to a silver tone. We actually removed 100% of the battens in this house. I think 2 hearings ago, when we were responding to the board's interest in seeing maybe a window show itself as opposed to hiding it behind any battens. So all the elements of battens and hidden glass behind the wood shrouds are gone, which I think was in hearing 2 that we discussed those points. And now the idea that the board thought, embrace the window, maybe embrace the composition of that particular facade, stop trying to hide it behind those elements. We did that. So we no longer have any battens in this home at all. That's just a siding profile that if you were to think about the material sheet, can we go to page 14, I believe? So this is the profile that we brought in our first hearing. This is the actual siding verticality on here, which is all yellow cedar to be weathered naturally to this color, which is a piece of aged yellow cedar. That's your material palette.
Okay.
This is just pre-weather.
Okay. That was just throwing me off.
Yes.
And the shingles are pressure treated red cedar shingles.
Yes. Probably the most predominantly used cedar shingle in Saginaw.
I think the calculations feel, because of this, the garage has no windows, barely any on the corner
Just
here.
on the front.
I feel that when we're looking at the home, I know they're attached, right? So you're counting this facade as part of the calculation, but I don't feel like if you were to look at the home on its own, that's not 14%. There's no way it's 14%, right? So are you counting the roof? Are you counting, how are you getting to this?
Only
What
the
is
walls. Only the walls. So we're counting. The garage is relatively small in comparison to the rest of the building facade. The gables are quite large, so we do have gables. We're counting all the surfaces on the gables.
Can I ask a question on this? Glazing percentage page.
That's not our,
That's not our project.
So sorry.
yeah, it's on the front.
Wow.
20,
It's my fault. Here we go. Sorry, I hadn't flipped it over. I'm so sorry, you guys.
No, that's quite all right.
25%.
Okay,
On the front?
Yeah, that makes more sense. My apologies.
25%.
Yes, ours is in yellow. It's right there on the screen too.
And previously it was 27, but I know it was much more than that. But I mean, I get
Of
that.
course, yeah.
Yeah. Glazing, bringing it down. That's,
Yeah.
even on the back side, it's, I know you started high. That was a crazy number.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
let you know.
Yeah.
That's
Of course.
crazy. So 28.5 for the back. I'd like to see that brought down and also on the front.
Does it make a difference where? Are you guys particularly concerned about the double elevation area or just the general percentage drop?
I don't know. I feel the corner windows maybe are maybe what's adding too much. It's taking it over the top for us.
And one thing to note is that the double elevation area is alcoved in on both sides.
Right.
So the viewing angle from outside will be greatly helped.
So also-
And remember too, part of our conversation, again, not trying to sway the board, I'm just, part of our conversation and discussion at the last hearing was that when you look purely at the south elevation, most of the glass that's even in the calculation is set back 13 feet in front of
Yeah.
the porch. It's almost in its own space.
Yep.
Not to mention that the pass-through connection between two buildings is 30 feet set back from the rear elevation
Right.
and 15 feet set back from the front elevation. Again, just a clarification point,
yeah.
helps the
And
argument.
it does help. All
Yeah.
of that does help, that it's nicely tucked in the way you've done it. But I still would like to see it brought down.
Yeah, I think in the main center on the front and back, but I also
Yes.
think these
Understood.
That window.
corner windows are adding.
If we worked
Necessary.
on a bit of a reduction all around in the glass, would our takeaway from the board at least be that the forms
That's what I was
are
trying to
good?
ask. Yeah, I think we're comfortable with the design
I think,
overall.
yeah.
Oh, that's great.
That's cool.
So I think our mandate would be APD, work on a reduction of glass, give it your best try, but the design is reasonably being accepted by the board.
Yep.
Okay, I think we can do that, right, John?
But really try.
No, I think if you go back and watch the 4 hearings we've
Yeah.
been here, we've been trying. And honestly, I think the design of the house has improved. I really do.
It has improved.
I think the
Yeah.
suggestion on the linked area is a good one too, to bring that section.
Yeah, I've seen it work before with some other situations. But thank you for guys being so cooperative. and
Thank you.
proactive with this.
Yes, of course.
It's an interesting design. It's different. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
it definitely merits pursuing and having it exist.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
What's the next date?
Thank you, March
23rd.
23rd. Okay, you ready?
Yes,
We'll be ready.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second.
thank
All in
you.
favor?
I,
Thanks.
May I take a picture of the little 3D model if you don't mind?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you want it on the?
You want it on the site plan?
Sure.
We have 3 of them now.
No, they're
I
going
know it's
cheap.
not easy.
No, actually, these days, building models is a lot easier with.
With CNC,
with
yeah.
3D printing. you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
that's
it's-
3D or 3D cut.
This is
3D
3D printing.
But it's the painting that,
Yeah, and there's always flashing.
Which is important for us to see the difference in the materials.
Yeah.
but it takes a lot more.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great science project.
It's an interesting design. It's like, at first I was like, and then you look at it like,
The procession is actually interesting too, because if you think about all of LaGuardia's renderings there, the procession actually comes in this way to enjoy the front facade and then comes around. So there is no street projection coming straight on.
Right.
It's a series through a little alley of
Yeah, you
trees.
see it scaled down how, and then wrap.
And it's funny, I like that we're getting to a good place judging it without the trees, but this is massively planted. I mean, this is a garden, a house that's in a garden. So I think also. Well, thank you. Have a nice day.
Take care.
I'll move on to 70 Old Farm Road. Oh, we're adjourning that? Yep. So sorry. Okay, I see that.
I would make you do the motion.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn 70 Old Farm Road. All in favor? Aye. We'll move on to 31 Hedges Lane renovation.
Good afternoon, Father Casa, 860 Boxall Power Watermill, New York, to the applicant. I think there were submissions made, you got be handing out submissions?
We have an extra selection. Do I just introduce it or not? This is, so you got the resubmission. And then our wonderful architects had a meeting with the clients and won some sweets. So Howard was kind enough to let us submit these or electronically.
Thanks.
May I also ask if you have the original pictures of the original we can reference as we are moving through this.
The original, they're on it in your first submission that we submitted in December.
Yeah.
First couple pages were the, and they actually have them on PDF. So. You can read through No, yeah, this is.
Why don't we have?
I wasn't here last minute, so.
So just for the record, in case that wasn't clear, the client had a few small tweaks, we're calling them, to the plan that were done over the weekend.
They were, yeah, they submitted the renderings that were asked for.
You'll like it.
On Friday.
You'll
You'll like it so.
We talked about it. Tim will walk you through it.
Yeah, rather than me walking through that, we'll have Mr. Haynes walk you through it.
I think last time we talked about getting the rest of the renderings from the around the property, so you could see the back, what I call the back of the property, and then the outbuildings. So should we?
Start from the beginning.
Yeah. So I don't think they don't have the tweet one.
Actually, but the first one, first we did the submission in time, which was, I believe, February 13th. You should have a submission of the step that has all the renderings, that includes these, it's this one right at the beginning. If you go to the very beginning of this.
This is the first, this is just a document with 2 photos.
No, that's the one, that's fine. Keep going. Now this one, just keep going. There you go. That one, that's the beginning. Perfect. There you
You want to start from here? Okay. Great. Thank you.
Okay, this is what you're calling Pool House Cottage, right?
No, this is the house.
Well, this is the main house.
Oh, main house, okay.
Do you want me to just slide through?
I'm happy to sort of talk you guys through it. So the
north view?
this is the south
of the.
south view. So this is everything. This is all original. This shows the wraparound porch that's being reconstituted. Right now, this is all filled in. So we're sort of creating the wraparound porch there. That's the difference. Everything else here is historic all the way up to here. Then this is the addition. New porch and the new addition on it. We go to the next one. So this is now the east elevation. This is the pool house before it was tweaked, which is really just. This is the barn before it's tweaked. This has been the new pool house. I just put the door into the infill with the strap hinges on it. The renderer hadn't done that. And then to me, I wanted the building to look a little more historic. I didn't like having the big rounded window here, which you could sort of see through the rendering from the street a little bit. So, and lo and behold, the client agreed with me that they thought this just looked more like it had always been there and less of an intervention and less attention drawing to it than the arched window. If you want to go back here, this was before. And then going forward, it goes to this. Much better. Much better. My
Feels more exciting.
Site plan,
Yeah, the site plan,
mark the tree is up at the home.
right, from Melissa Reedus from Hollander Design. The only change we made here was just to call out one of the existing trees on site.
Actually, no, this is the
This is our
key, that's the key
Yeah, but
diagram.
it's on here, so I can just quickly show you. So there was an existing witch hazel that we indicated for leaf phosphor, and that's living right here, so that's remaining on the plan. Thanks for that.
We're coming.
It's a witch hazel
It's a
tree
witch hazel
that
and it's
came up in
existing.
the last month's
Right.
meeting is to preserve.
Right.
Well,
So
thank you
it's-
for paying
It's
attention to
there
that.
and it can stay exactly where it is.
That's great. There's a lot to look at. Maybe we can just address, or should we start with the main house?
Sure.
Focus on that first. Bagney facing elevation.
If you want to go, do we have the elevations of the?
We have, those are the prior ones too.
They're in the original record.
The original.
So can I look at the Sagnane street facing?
This one. I think it's
My last.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
But this was a screen porch. Here's no subdivision for that.
Right, so the only change here from what's there today is the removal of the big plate glass windows, infilling the two arches on the right.
But the design of the windows has changed on the second floor center area, right? Design of that.
As far as we know.
No, not intended to. Not intentionally.
You're right. And would it be easy to go through the elevations? Yes, you're not.
I mean, if we could zoom in just to see the house, more of a bigger screen.
Is the new revenue composition.
That's the problem. That's the original. So there's arches. They changed those.
Maybe a rendering error?
It could be a rendering
Change.
I'm just looking at the existing house.
Here, we have a picture.
Because they do too.
Yeah, from I think last month's presentation. So can you just talk about the window, the top portion of the glass and the arches within that are happening? I don't know what they're called. In the glass window on the second floor.
This guy, the fan window?
No, underneath there, yeah, right where the
Right
door
here,
is, yes.
right.
There are some arches that look like,
So the Clare Street.
yes. Those things. Yeah, I like,
That's replicating what's there.
oh, it is there.
It is? Oh, yeah, it
Yeah.
is, right.
That's on the ground floor, yeah.
Yes.
As far as we understand it, our renderer was to show everything exactly as it is with the removal of these two plate glass windows. Sorry,
Yeah.
now I'm wrong. These are the two plate glass.
Yeah, first.
That have those arches.
You have to feed me, there have been many who tried to pull the wool over our eyes.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Glossy presentations.
You know
so
what
I
happens,
just-
that's why elevations sometimes are easier.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. All right, everyone is comfortable with the front? The sagging facing side, okay. Let's move on to the south elevation. Side, back, east.
South is in the front, there we go. Good job.
So because of the addition, there's an extra window here, sort of in the middle under the, and through the arched space on the right, correct?
Here,
Or is it just
Yeah,
the
and there on the
angle?
right, there, yeah. One window in the original one, and then it looks,
I think it's the angle because I don't think there's trying to get some of
double
myself.
window, and then this is a single window in here.
I'm trying to think myself listed. No.
And if I know what my saying is not appropriate, or I just want to clear what's different.
Remember, there was a lot of work done in the 80s on this house too.
Yeah, so on this elevation, the thing that has changed is, yes, this is a pair of French doors, and right now, it looks like it's currently one double.
Okay, thank you. Alrighty.
And that's the change there to the historic section of it.
Okay, great. Okay, and I mean, with the new addition, looking very similar and complementary to, I think, I believe, the rest of the home. Are there any call outs on the new structure that we can't match up to the old structure? That anybody has any comments on? Yeah. please go
The
ahead.
one thing that I think is better is they used to have a big double dormer here that slammed into that roof, which just felt awkward. So we reduced the amount of the window, made it a single, made it its own dormer, and it doesn't now slam into the other roof.
Okay, so it like the little porch, this arch feels, I mean, it does feel more modern than the rest of the home, but that doesn't mean that it echoes these arches nicely. Just wanted to touch on it and see if anybody has any strong opinions of this porch.
The arches No, you're throwing me off.
They are sort of direct references, and yes, they're sort of the flavor of the month these days, but they are original single style type things also. But it really seems to be that more professional these days. And we sort of took what was here on the historic part and moved it over. I think there's some stewardship bonus points in keeping the original, that is more original.
Yeah, these rounded corners sort of occur historically around the property, so we did it, I mean, I'm a rectangle guy, but I think it can seem harsh here.
What is
Well, like right now in the existing, there was like a triple slider with rectangle. It just feels like you went
back to the 70s?
Yeah.
back to the 70s.
What if it weren't white?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's
Because
a,
it
would
feels
just
heavy.
it would
right.
Maybe
Well, I
not
think
blended.
there's a little bit, the renderers
Right.
Yeah.
problem is that
Right.
this white, it looks like it's applied like a casing on the outside, and we're showing it like that the shingles are turned back in and that white is set in. We have to case the doors, but it's set back in, and the renderer, these were done very quickly for you guys. We had to turn them around in like 10
So maybe
days.
it looks more
So,
like this.
so that that should appear,
Okay.
you can almost see it more in the one we've removed here in the distance.
Right, I'm looking at it.
Where the
Yeah.
white is set in, it shouldn't look like it's protruding from the shingle, it should look recessed in, which we can get corrected before
So
then.
it's gonna, it'll look more like that, because this
And
just
if-
feels
So that you
chunky.
have this, and actually should have that same shingle detail
Yeah.
around it, and then the white would be set back in slightly, so that they.
So no sort of surface trim.
Exactly, there will be no surface trim.
That's a
It's
big
just
difference.
the rendering is,
Yeah, I can see the difference that you're talking about. I'm still just wondering though if it.
you can see here, it's rendered
Yes,
correctly,
I'm
and
looking
it's
at it
how much
directly on
quieter
here.
it is.
It is more quiet, still just because it isn't the historical, I don't know, if it's not. Just call it out, call it out, but my eyes going there.
Yeah. I mean, the rectangle doesn't ruin it for me if we want to.
I wouldn't think it would ruin it either, when you look
No.
at the, you
All the
know,
rest of the
the,
windows.
the front door, you know, that area is rectangular, so.
Right.
I don't know, there's just something about it that's throwing me off.
Right, maybe it's the only modern element that.
Yeah. And even here, I don't know, it's just.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, I understand, it's just throwing me off a little bit. But overall, what this house, the house is gonna be beautiful, over, you know,
Yeah.
bring it back to, you know, its glory.
Yeah, I mean, I we were trying to give it some precedent and some sort of interest. I just get nervous of
It's
these
like-
little buildings with a rectangle cut out of them. I don't, on this porch, I think is less of an issue. I think I was so maybe overreacting to that sort of addition, which to me just looks so
Yeah.
so out of place.
Perfunctory, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there is another thing, which would be, because this is all screen porch and wood, and I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud. I mean, it would be to do that all in natural as
That's- yeah.
opposed to white.
Then you have the similar
But then-
single play.
Right, so that it almost reads as quiet as these guys do, but they're not white. I think it's the whiteness that's really jumping out almost more than the curve. I think the curve could make it feel simpatico between this,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of white.
Yeah,
We're not
there's a lot of white.
Go towards space age.
Right. I mean, in the rendering, it's drawing a lot of attention.
I think muting it would be really nice because you still have the single style whimsy of that, but it's not.
It's not slapping you
Still
in the
nice
face.
philosophy.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. That's where I would go first, would be to
Yeah.
keep the arch but go natural with the,
Because the shingle elements are really nice too, you know, sort of.
yeah, I like the way the shingles are done around me.
Yeah, that would look better. I think that would look good.
Quieter.
Yeah, I don't think we would.
You wouldn't.
No, yeah, it would look completely.
And I think here you can see in the distance with the 4 windows would just be much better
100%,
there.
yeah. This is a big, strong feature of such a small building.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, that's a good change. Maybe we'll look at the next.
We did look at the east elevation. So it would be the same thing here, in that this would go natural.
Mhm.
Can we talk about the panels, the center panels between the windows? It's new.
Yeah, I mean, I think we took them because they existed on the house in certain places.
Okay.
I happily get rid of them and make the windows a little bigger between them and sort of gang them together a little tighter. They're a little heavy.
Well,
Let's look at where we.
Yeah, they look, I don't know, it just feels heavy. But that's the.
Yeah, well, you know, again, maybe we took them from when they had gangs and windows, they had put large pieces between them. I'd be happily, I would maybe keep them, but make them half their size. So that they're not quite, they're really, I mean, they're not doing me any favor.
In terms of the interior,
What the
it'd be
design-
weird.
Interior, they're not doing me any favor.
Okay.
I think it was us trying to maybe overly be nodding to what was there, but for all we know, what was there was also because someone put in windows that they didn't go through the whole exercise of removing the whole thing and they just kept adding on so that those mullions got fatter and fatter over time. We don't need that much structure between them. We don't need any structure between them, but I also don't want it to just look like a ribbon window of
Yeah.
taking a bunch of double hungs.
Right, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they could come down to half their size essentially.
Would that be on the upper floors too, sort of across the boards? Or,
I would do it like in an elevator. I would do it.
yeah,
The question is when we go to replace the window, the couple that are like that up front and on the side, do we do the same thing? Even if you look at this photograph and stuff, in your eye jumps to all that white that's there.
Mhm.
I'd consider making all of them a little, you know,
Seems a little more classic, I think.
yeah. They're almost to the size where you would expect them to be paneled or something
Yeah,
like that,
fluting or
you know, something on them. Which I think would just make it fussier.
yeah.
I definitely see the reference though, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. Any
It
other?
wouldn't be for shingles because they never went for
No, unless and
shade.
it could be, you know, for where they were, if they're originally weight and chain, you'll need a certain amount of
Oh, yeah.
space between them, but probably not quite as much as that because the weights and the chains could go to the far right and
Outside.
left, and then you only need one, and you don't need, we do that, all the windows are weight and chain, and you don't need quite that much beef.
Will you be replacing it with weight and chain?
Yeah, yeah,
All wood?
all wood, weight and chain. Yeah, we don't want to know what was that.
Yeah. I got a few of them. First, gotta point out to people. that there's
Yeah.
Bravo.
Yeah.
All right, everyone fine with the east?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are these railing elements sort of reversed bevel? Are these elements,
Yeah, those are
are they there? Are they yours or?
they are on the front of the house, so we use them on the back. They're at the front at those windows that they're in the
Oh, yeah, the triples.
yeah, sag main
And it has that
elevation,
on
and it has
here.
that little curve.
It does,
Mhm.
okay.
Oh, I don't know why I don't have the original photos. But they, if you want to, we can go back and look at that front one. It was there when we looked at the central windows.
See the original Clubhouse Cottage, or there isn't one.
The original pool house.
Clubhouse Cottage originals.
They're in the first set.
Yeah.
Adding very the first one. Thank you.
We've reduced its footprint.
That's one.
That's the original pool.
Yeah.
The first, where you have these.
Yes, that's all one structure. What? We made it smaller.
Okay, can we confirm, organize this, did we figure out if the pool house cottage building is historic? Or?
It's
No, it's not.
The carriage house.
Just the carriage house.
Just the carriage house.
But not the stable.
And not the cottage. So the stable is not historic.
The only structure on the historic list is the carriage.
Yes.
The carriage house.
We have not
I mean,
addressed the
that's-
carriage house.
And the only other thing being able to carriage house is a removal of the steps, the stairs in the back.
That's what I added, not that long.
Okay, so we don't need to adhere necessarily to the cottage building historically.
No, that's.
Just confirming. Okay.
The stable and the existing stable is being demolished.
And the stable was not considered.
It's fine.
Fifteen down those stairs.
Okay.
Right. Which they're saying we're added sometime between 1990 and 2006.
But we still want it to look and feel like the rest of the house, it is.
Right, yeah, no, absolutely. So which one do we want to?
So right now, we're looking at the full house cottage. Everybody.
This is the historic report. Now we need. Abby was with the first round of renderings, there was existing photographs attached to the end of it.
I think we're just going to the renderings of the current full house, I think.
Okay, yes. Scratch this.
So the latest
That on print
that
right now.
submitted is what we're on for today.
2020 and 220.
It still echoes the same roof line here and the same side part of the window. It's nice. Like, look at this.
Yeah, my favorite part about it was the little arches on it, so that's why, like, apropos, since this one's tilted. That arch exists, as does the one around the corner. We made this a blind arch with shingles, and this one I infilled with boards, and then cut the door in with. We have a guy in Pennsylvania that hand hammers the strap hinges and the thumb latches and all of that in there. And so those two arches remain, the history of it, but we filled them in.
Everyone feel with this one being white versus the other.
How it works.
Yeah.
You what?
Does anyone have any?
It seems to work with the white pier.
Just to remind everybody too, we had a snow delay. This guy got it, the render got it in 5 days, and this, with the snow being shown, this, I think it pops. I think what we're planning on doing for the public hearing is repackaging this with all the changes, and we'll make sure that the white is really truly shown as it's going to be shown.
You know, to hear it works, and to me, the arch here gives it something, you know, gives it a little character.
Yeah, I agree.
And we did have the arches, these were not imposing, so that this, and now this render has, this table has,
You did right.
has the detail on it. They're set into the shingle on this, I don't know why he made them the other way, on the other. But I still think because the other one has so much screen porch that it'll be nicer, natural, and quieter. Because also, it's attached to a house that has so much beautiful original deep. You don't want your eye to go to the new stuff.
Yeah.
You want it to stay dancing around the old.
And to see where the monitor windows are facing. Next.
They are facing north and south.
Yeah. And there are buildings in front of it, basically.
The height of them are
8 feet, 9
Site
feet,
plan,
9
that's what I'm trying
feet.
to figure out, like it's hard to figure out.
It's here.
Okay,
And if, you know, the one facing north, there's the barn and carriage house.
Right.
Things that you wouldn't see it from the street on Hedges at all.
perfect.
And then it feels very far.
Yes.
The other side feels across the pool, Bottom Meadow, and there's some.
But you'd also be seeing something more similar to how it was originally built than what's there now.
Yeah, what's their,
I mean, with the elements.
doesn't have a lot to recommend.
This is going to be.
And this here, what is next? What is south of you? Residential, or is it that far?
No, it's that farm.
Yeah, so you've got a lot of space. It's not-
And no one can see that part. I don't know what will ever happen to that or who owns it, but there's nothing there.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys have a gate that goes out to it from
Yeah.
their property.
Mhm.
It's just nice.
That's everybody feel about the glazing on the south elevation of the pool house.
I got no issues with that. Like,
Yeah, okay.
it's single styling, anything goes, asymmetry, incongruity.
Okay. All right, do we want to move on to the barn? Barn. I think that was just next in the presentation. And you, where's the barn? They would have.
It's gonna be, yeah, the barn, we were gonna demolish what's there. Retaining any, if there isn't much, but if there's any wood of any character inside, we were going to hold on to it to use for the inside of this building. There isn't much inside there. It's not heavy timbered or anything like that.
So what you're calling the stable wood shop on the previous presentation.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which had a couple of additions put onto it over time. Again, in that turn of the century time period.
I think the new renderings look good on the west elevation, changing that from the arch. I think that looks really nice.
So then the one remaining arch on this, which again is rendered correctly, is directly on axes to the one on the pool house. So they speak across the axes. Not that anyone will ever see that unless you're on the property, but that's the concept. So they look out across an outdoor garden that Ed's office, design, slightly sunken garden, and then directly across to the pool house structure, and then through that into the pool.
What happens inside here? What is the use for the building?
It is a pool table, ping pong, and like a big TV and a sofa for, they have teenagers. So it's to get them sort of probably out of the house in the summer and not put them in the basement, which is
Every other
seems to
team.
be. This is one step better. They're all excited. They've got a building to go to as opposed to being sent down to the basement.
Let's chance of getting rickets.
Right, exactly. And essentially, it's a big multi-purpose space. Because as we all know, teenagers do grow up eventually, but they still play ping pong.
This is the one that they're getting at. Right?
Yes, that's the one
That's going.
going.
And then.
The one dated 2/20. The one dated 2/20, which sent us from her. Have the updated glazing too.
Can we discuss the
Skylights. Yeah, that's. We can get, there's several, there's two there now.
They're using that.
Clients on the fence, they don't care about having them. The wife would like to get rid of them. The husband said, no one's going to see them. They will bring more light. It'll be a more pleasant space. So we're open on that.
Okay.
We're open. I hate skylights.
1970s
Yeah.
sort of element that I
usually fight clients on. I won't let it be seen anywhere if you're on a property. Here, you'll never see it. So I'm okay with it. But they were there, so. But I mean, no one's going to fight us if we take them away.
if we're gonna stay classic and sort of.
We should get rid of them.
I think so. I don't know.
Me too. I'm all for it. I mean, it was one of my arguments to them when I made this elevation look like it's a historic classic, was that we'll still get a lot of light because I was giving up a lot of glass. But I don't like skylights. But some clients have talked us into putting them where you can't see them, and they do bring a lot of light into a space, but it's something I would never make a focal point of. But I think everyone's happy either way. If you want us to get rid of them, we can get rid of them.
Okay,
I think I agree with that. I had pre-existing non-conforming skylights and they drive me crazy.
Yeah.
But this house is so nestled into the building that you have to be invited to see them.
I sort of said to the wife, if everyone's all right with it, we'll frame it for them to go in. And if we all go in there and say, that just looks like it's 1979, then we'll just put the framing and put a roof over them. But let's see what the light is like inside the building and frame for them and see. But yeah, no, we have a split in the family on this. But no one's fighting either way. It's just,
could affect noontime ping pong with the
right, exactly, with the light coming in. Well, that's just it. Then you so this is like, maybe it'll be a nuisance. What because we're going to put an open truss structure inside this building so that it looks like what it is, sort of a barn. And so I said to them, that might mask it, and the trusses are going to hit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trusses across. So it might obscure, but we've had multiple discussions about whether we should have these or not.
And I think if we're really, all the elements and the rest of the property feel very classic and traditional and historical. So I think.
Let's get rid of them. Let's get rid of them.
Would be thick. Would you the R rating? You'll have this much space.
Let's just get rid of them. And I can say you did it, not me.
Right. The last is the marriage house.
It's not, we're taking off some appendages that were added and we're going back to the use of the basic structure. Of the whole house, yeah.
And retaining it as a cottage for sleep.
Yes, Carl will want me to tell you that we are retaining it because it has
We will not be abandoning that use.
yes, it has kitchen, bathroom, sleeping.
Okay. We'll move to the carriage house.
Carriage house. Is that? We've run through these stuff.
We have no renderings, just.
No renderings.
There is a renders.
No, because we're just removing the.
Well, you just stairs.
It's the south elevation.
Yeah, you can
Yes,
see
you-
it on the top.
Oh, okay, okay.
Anything in the barn, you can see it right here. On the bottom side of
Yes. So
Indies, no.
this is where that
The staircase
the
was.
staircase
yeah.
was.
Okay,
Maybe at the next presentation, we would just bring the
yeah.
renderings so we can just show the facts.
Do you just want that one, because everything else.
Do it, they're gonna want it all, do it all.
Okay. Just if I could see this on. I've done it here, it would be really helpful. Okay, does anybody else have any other thoughts?
Yeah.
Hey. Do we want to go over? Thank you.
But no, our biggest things were we're gonna remove the skylights from this building and we're going to take that screen porch and make it all natural.
Yes, and then maybe the panels.
And the panels
Yeah.
between the windows, thin them down.
Yeah.
Is that community two or is it?
Well, it's a public hearing.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
just
Yeah.
one last.
I like your idea, though.
They're doing belt and suspenders.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to adjourn this and is adjourning it separate from the motion to create a public hearing?
I think it's just a motion to approve resolution for.
I'd like to make a motion
You have to read this resolution.
to approve the following resolution to set a public hearing. Whereas 31 Hedges Lane is located in the historic district of Sagaponack. Whereas the residence was built in 1899. And whereas the AHRB feels that it is in the best interest to allow public comment on this application. Now therefore be it resolved that the AHRB is scheduling a public hearing for 31 Hedges Lane for Monday, March 23, 2026 at 12 p.m. at Village Hall, 3175 Montauk Highway, Sagaponack, New York. Would you like to make a motion to? Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
I.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
I had just talked to, just before we move on, sorry, I talked to Brian about having a resolution ready for adoption at the same hearing, at the same meeting as the public hearing.
Yeah.
And he said that was totally fine, so I just want to make sure. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we'll move on to driveway gates, 16 Fairfield Pond Lane.
Good afternoon, hi. Can you hear me? Hi, I'm Victoria Steiner, I'm the owner. And I'd like to first of all say thank you for doing an incredible job. I watched you guys on Zoom. And we wanted Sagaponack for this very reason. And when we bought the house, it was a 1960s house that we demolished, and we wanted it to be in farm style, and that's what we did with our architect. And I love living there. And we had the post office there across the street for many years, well, like a year and a half, which was fine. It was busy and nice to see people and our neighbors. My son worked at the Sagaponack store this summer, so he got a chance to meet the neighbors. Yeah, he loved me, John and his wife, and it was great. So why am I here? Why did we apply for this when we applied for building permits? I didn't want them. I didn't want them. I didn't think I needed them. And I wanted to have, a traditional house like Sagaponic. But what has happened is that we have two driveways and they're completely separate. And people love to pull in, and especially the one on Fairfield, they love to turn around. And I'm home at night a lot of times by myself because my husband is not here today. He's a doctor. He works in the city. And I have a little Maltese and they pull in. So I don't know if it's a friend, a neighbor, or God knows who. And I get very, very nervous. So at night, now that it's getting lighter, thank God, till like 6 o'clock next week, 7 p.m., I'm fine. But when I'm there, it's 4:30, I have to pull down my shades and I don't want people to see me because they pull in and some people stare. So it makes me kind of nervous as a woman. I don't own any firearms. I'm from New York City. I don't believe in that. And so I'm very nervous. So based on the lighting, because there's no lighting outside because we're not allowed to have that, we are proposing 40-foot setback, and just to create a beautiful aesthetic to keep it with the aesthetic of the village, not to go over anything. They're only 4 feet, and that's all we're asking for. I don't want, monsters. I don't want to create a fortress. That's not why I bought here. If I wanted that, I would have bought on Deerfield and created a compound. I want to be part of the village. I want to walk my dog. I want my son to go back to working at the store and be part of this. And that's all we're asking for, not to create monsters or anything, just to know that who's coming, why are they here while I'm home alone. Thank you very much. And thank you for everything. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for that explanation. That helps us understand a lot the position you're in. In terms of the style of how does everybody feel about the gate on Fairfield Pond? You're asking for one gate or you're asking for gates on both?
We're asking for both, but honestly, the one that gets that one, because they could turn around. The other one, it's dangerous. They start backing out into the street and they're not looking a lot of times. They rip up my grasses, and they love to throw garbage and beer cans or whatever. So every time I walk the dog, I bring a garbage can, like a little bag to throw out the stuff. But yeah, I just want that. That's more.
The Fairfield Pond's more important.
Yes.
It's a less busy road.
Yeah, and I think on Hedges, there are a lot of historic homes there on that spit of land. So maybe we could start with the one and see how you're feeling.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
And then maybe we can just address the design.
Yeah.
Quickly.
I'm open to whatever you guys suggest.
Okay, it feels. I want to reference what we had on the drive. Yeah, because I don't know if this is as close as we were hoping for.
It's heavy.
It feels, maybe slightly a bit
As long as
decorative.
they can't drive in.
Yeah. So maybe we just have something, we could do a committee of two, but maybe something a little bit more in this vein that feels more agricultural.
I'm okay with that.
Is that okay?
You don't care what it looks like, do you?
I just don't want them to come in because the dog starts going crazy. I get nervous.
Yeah.
Especially Fairfield Pond, where I could see them.
They love to. When we had the post office, they would turn around in the post office. Now that there's a field there, they turn around in my house.
Why do you have two driveways? Like, how did that happen?
Well, that's the way, that's
just the way it was.
The front door is the glass.
Yeah.
And for me, my garage is in the back, so
Right.
that's why.
Yeah, and
Just
just remember,
people would
because I
walk
think
in.
originally you guys had the driveway going all across the front of the house. And I think we didn't want people parking kind of in the front, right, along.
Which we don't, unless
The
we have a
result
guest
was
over.
2 cuts.
Everybody parks in the back unless we have guests over, because the guests come in, they walk through the garage and they see, my boxes, all my garbage and everything. So aesthetically, it was really, if you arrive to a house, I think there should be a front door. So, but if a guest is coming, they ring, the gate's open, I know that they're here, I know who's coming. This is just a free for all.
That's unfortunate for you.
Yeah. All right, well, I think maybe we can just address the design of the gate and we'll keep it to the Fairfield Pond side of
Tell us
things
what you
to
want
start.
and we'll do it. I'm open, I just, I'm very happy with whatever you pick, because obviously you guys have great taste.
Okay, you guys choose from there, and then we will approve committee of two in the middle of the month. So whenever you present, we'll take a look
And you'll send us
Any of these
These are on the
designs
website,
here.
yeah.
on the
Yeah.
website.
Pick a fence and we'll approve it.
And whoever, is Rhodey here?
Rhodey is in the office back there.
Rhodey's amazing. She sends the emails. I'm on the Zooms. She's amazing.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
guys.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that 16 Fairfield Pond Lane Gates goes to a committee of two.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To 138 Seascape Lee, new business renovations.
Carl Bonacasa, 860 Mount South Highway, Waterville, New York, for the applicant, I believe.
Oh, give me a second. Let me
Lucas
just-
Costello Mottos. He was right there. There it is.
Yeah.
Hi, Lucas. Thanks. You are muted.
Sorry, Pat, what did you say?
Just hold on, let's talk to you.
Oh.
Hello there.
Yeah. So Lucas will go into the architectural designs and elements, but essentially what we're talking about here is the addition of a connecting porch between the existing principal dwelling and the existing accessory dwelling, which houses a pool and pool house. As originally conceived by Stella Mott some years ago, these were independent structures without any structural connection. And this would be a second floor porch / deck connecting the two structures. We've been through the analysis of first floor area and all of that. The additions meet with code. Do not require any variances, but obviously we need your approval on the connection. So, Lucas, if you want to just go through some of the stylistic elements of the proposed form.
Well, it was actually, when we originally did the structure of the house, we actually wanted to do this, but our client was resistant to it for some reason. So for us, it's, we're grateful that we get to finally do this, because it makes it, you want the accessory structure, which is the pool and the pool house, to feel more part of the house. And now you have to walk down and then to walk back up. And that's really, it's more of a programmatic decision. Just to make the two structures feel as one. And we're going to repeat all the details that that are already existing with the steel cable rails and the fascia and the teak decking, and it's just going to be a replication of what's there.
Could you please introduce yourself?
I'm sorry, Lucas LeBlanc of Stella Mott Rahani Architects.
Thank you.
I certainly see the conundrum because it's raised. You have to go down, raise it back
Yeah,
up.
we had a similar submission, but it wasn't in an area that had the FEMA restrictions. And that didn't pass. No. Because it was a completely a choice, and there were no.
To have it at the second level, yes.
Yeah, there were no
I'm
restrictions.
sure they would prefer if the pool were at ground level and everything.
And the first floor on the ground level too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this was just. This was
Nothing else
working
has
with
changed. The stairs are there. You're not adding or bumping any of those out as it was before, differently than it was before, sorry.
The only thing we're doing is we're narrowing the stairs. I can annotate, I believe. or maybe not. The stairs that you see adjacent to the proposed deck, they're currently wider than they are, so we're going to reduce the width, but they're already there.
Oh, yeah, yes, I'm sorry, I thought you meant just the location of this.
Okay, so I see.
Now, want to also remove some overhangs inside.
There will be overhangs removed specifically adjacent to or off the pool house, there's an overhang. That's done to accommodate you. Absolutely, you work within the zoning parameters. Thank you, John.
Okay.
What is the width?
The square
It
footage
is-
is one of the width.
It's 32, connecting that between the house and the accessory structure is about 32 feet wide, and then it's close to 19 feet in depth.
My concern would be that.
18.8 in depth, yes, and
32 6.
In this case, it's really read.
It's narrower than the existing buildings.
Yeah.
So that maybe that's part of the,
Yeah.
it doesn't go the full length of the home.
Yeah.
Is it within our purview to consider that it has a female elevation thing, or?
I know, that's what I was wondering.
I mean, I'm not sure if we can sort of assume a hardship or whatever.
Right, for a precedence for something.
Are you saying you don't want to set a precedent for second floor?
Well,
I don't know. It's hard to.
it's whether we have to evaluate it purely on the, physicality of it.
Or the practicality is.
Yeah, versus the practicality, and factor in that you did have a choice but have an elevated house on stilts basically because of the location.
I mean, John, does this whole thing underneath it become a covered porch?
Yes, and that's why we had to work through the GFA calculations to meet the FAR requirements, which is why they're clipping back some of the flying overhangs that they have, the pergola overhang, so that they actually gained the square footage they needed to create it. So they could come back to you at a later date with a screening system that would be breakaway to enclose that area at the ground level as a screened-in porch if they want.
Okay, but so they haven't asked the zoning board for that.
They did not have to go to zoning board.
And, I would refer to your counsel on this, but I do know that you could, in your decision, note the constraints of FEMA in approving the second floor connection. Essentially, there's no option but this.
Yeah.
This looks on to maybe toward the beach, right? This spec.
If on the, I guess, on the sort of the peninsula that Seascape Lane goes down into, it would be on the southwestern facing portion of that peninsula. Yeah, the circle is the southern end. Seascape.
So that, all those funds there.
It is raised by 8 feet.
What's that? Makes sense.
Yeah, my only reluctance is that we did have that precedent.
I know.
Market rating, but it's such a different situation.
Yeah, I feel the same. I mean, it does make me pause, but it's a different situation.
You saying that was a preference in that situation?
Yeah.
It was more of a skywalk.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
This is a first floor connector. The first floor
Right.
just happens to be.
Yes.
It's at 8 feet.
What was the experience for the presumably they're gonna have chairs and tables and things, right?
Mhm.
For living space, I think we would.
But it
be
already
arguing
was.
that if it were on the ground,
Yeah.
right?
But if it's within the FAR and you do approve second floor balconies. This is just a pretty large one, but what?
It's not the size of it is. And can't even narrow it because then they won't connect. Right, because it's set back.
Well, they could sort of do like a dog leg thing, they could.
Is that
But
the
then it's
kitchen
ju-
right there?
Sorry?
Is that the kitchen right there? That is.
The kitchen is, yes, on this principal dwelling, the adjoining area is the kitchen. Yeah.
Do they have do they have eat outdoors over here now? Do you know?
It's constrained. The largest decking area is either off the second floor bedroom, which is certainly inconvenient to the or going down to the pool house and up and around, which is an inconvenient place.
Sure.
Like it adds to the house having it. Makes it complete.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I think this looks a little odd standing on its own.
And that would be it, this house, the PFA is all done.
Yeah. It's further up that is good.
What's the lighting situation?
Right.
We don't have any proposed lights.
There have to be safety lights for walking or?
Yes, you have to have a certain little, so there will be footlights and stuff like that. But you have no way around it. You have to have a right amount of foot candles in order to make it code compliant.
There are no overhead lights or anything like that.
I wonder if we don't want to address that with the fencing a little bit. So that maybe that blocks that a little bit.
Fencing?
Yes, the fence, the railing,
Oh, the railing.
right. Obviously, it
Address
won't
the-
match the others, but maybe we want to just dull that,
The railing a little bit?
not a, like, solid, so we don't actually see the lights that are there.
That might affect the massing though. You know, if you had a video.
I'd rather see massing than lights though in the nighttime. Just thinking about the people across the farms and neighbors.
I would defer to Lucas on whether.
Foot, border on the bottom that would block that.
Oh, just something on the bottom.
Yeah,
Oh, I see.
just so it doesn't glow up as like.
It's not a different type of railing.
Oh, it's
I
like a
mean, I'm
face,
talking out loud, I'm thinking out loud.
like a baseboard molding.
Yes,
Yeah.
just to, so it doesn't blow up the whole sky.
Balls from rolling off too.
Because that's a whole, almost the
Yeah.
same size as the
Ports.
pool house lights that you're adding on.
Lucas?
You're talking to it. They have deck mounted fixtures that just throw light horizontally. They're very minimal, very small. We'd probably do something like that, just so you can see for safety.
Yeah, I think it's not the lights itself, no matter what they are, I think maybe we can add some sort of footing that might help.
Did you hear that, Lucas?
A baseboard of
Not
sorts.
fully.
I think I'm just worried about the added light exposure here for the surrounding area and knowing it'll look a little runway-ish with the lights that are necessary legally. So maybe if we could add like a footboard or some minimal something to kind of block it.
I'm not fully following. I mean, I'm sure that there's a solution to every problem, so I'm sure we could come up with something. I mean, usually we like,
Yeah, go ahead.
when we
Sorry.
want to do a base board, we'd want to keep the detailing that exists currently on the decks. And we wouldn't want to be proposing a lot of light, just maybe just enough so, there's, for some safety. But
Exterior illumination.
Yeah, I mean, I think a night rendering and maybe some solution of sorts, because I think that's my only holdup right now. I understand the constraints you're in for the raised extra living space. I think it's going to be lovely to be able to eat out there. I just worry about then the runway feel is long. No, that's, what do you guys, anybody have any?
Yeah, and that rendering with, yeah.
Night rendering.
Yeah, the water that's meant for us.
it's no problem.
It is, yeah, this application is a different, we haven't addressed this before in the past. So we just want to take care.
No problem. So would we adjourn to March 23rd for that?
Yes, please. Unless, is anybody feel like it's a committee of two thing and we're just see a solution, or do you want?
No,
No, I think a night rendering is important.
I think we have to really cover
Yeah.
our bases
Yeah.
precedents.
Okay, so yes, March 23rd, please, if we could adjourn this to March 23rd. Make a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Hi.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
If we sit out the 3 hedges. No, there's nothing there. That's about it. This is old. Oh, okay. I printed it. I printed this at home.
All the seascapes.
So.
Caught up by ourselves.
It feels like seascape.
But like.
Hi, Ryan. How you doing?
Good, I mean.
Okay. And you.
Ready, Pat?
I'm ready. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to 112 Farm Court demolition.
Hello, how you doing? Good evening, Brian Glasser, architect, representing 112 Farm Court LLC. This is for currently a demolition permit because we're still working on some paperwork for the new construction, which I do have a proposed design. If I could get some insight, that'd be great. If not, for legal reasons, I understand. So basically, the current property, just to give you an outline, so it's on the east side of Farm Court on the cul-de-sac. It's around 1.4 acres, and the current, based on the research, it looks like there was an approval from the Board of Health in 1992 for a house that was around 3,300 square feet. It's my understanding, from looking at it, looks like a contemporary shingle style home with gable roof lines. The materials are it's a wood framed house, cedar roofing, cedar siding, casement windows, and picture windows. So I don't think there's any historical value to this house. I do have, if you'd like to see, since I'm here, I do have the renderings for the new house that we're presenting.
Let's finish this first.
Okay, okay.
We don't have the architect on that. I know, I understand it has no significant architectural value, but do we know the architect?
I'm not sure. it was, I could look into that maybe for the next, because I'm gonna have to come back, maybe I could get that information.
The house was built in 92. They got a CO 8792.
Nice.
They were supposed to be done in Memorial Day.
Does anyone have any issues? Maybe I certainly don't see a problem approving to demolish it.
No.
As long as maybe you could still try and get that.
I'm gonna do it, yeah, I'll do a little research on it.
I mean,
It'll probably come up fairly.
1% chance it's someone important.
Mhm. Do you wanna see what we're proposing?
You don't want to.
I have to make a motion.
Everybody seems to be going back to those origins.
So what are we doing?
I'm gonna move this to committee of two, once we find out who the architect is, just to be safe.
Okay.
So I can just
So let's do
I'll
the
email
mo-
it back.
Yeah,
the
so I'll make a
motion.
motion to move 112 Farm Court to committee of two, so that we can find out the architect.
Who's second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, now we can see the new design.
I know you don't have presentations because we're submitting this stuff. So here's a site plan which is proposed coming in off of the cul-de-sac. Pool, tennis court, everything conforms to the code or zoning code. So we're going with a shingle style design, which has I would say somewhat of a contemporary feel to it. Using natural wood shingle, shingle style design, and using natural shingle wood materials. Gable roof lines, cross gable massing, trying to give it a horizontal feel with that. At the bottom, we're bringing in like a lower slope roof at the bottom that kind of is consistent around the entire house. Going on to some of those, items that I think the board is usually concerned about when it comes to lighting. I do have the lighting calculations. The front elevation is around 19%, rear is 17, 11, around 11 on the left and right side, which is the north and the south side, which is, we have an average of 16%. So I think it's all within your, requests in the past that I've gotten. The renderings, you'll see we're using Perfection Alaskan yellow cedar roof, galvanized half round gutters and ground heater, Alaskan yellow Perfection shingles, traditional Danish blend brick chimney veneer, like where you go with Glengarry, the manufacturer. Windows, aluminum clad, which is an Anderson product, A series. And their casement windows, the standard like dove gray color we're going with, which the trim, the columns would match that. Dark sky compliant wall sconces around the garage or on the garage door side. Any other, under fascias and soffits would just be a downlight. Bluestone patios, brick risers.
Right, well, it's not really on the agenda to discuss the design, but I don't see any. I don't think it's glaring at this point. That's like a complete review. So.
Yeah. It's gonna be a nice house.
Yeah.
I think so
It's gonna be
too.
interesting, yeah. Doesn't have the sweeping roof lines, it's a little bit more, I think, transitional feeling, but
I like
I
it.
think it should be good,
Yeah.
And the horizontal break definitely helps with massing and everything.
yeah. We broke down the massing of the garage by bringing that structure down, so there's a few elements going on.
Design of an architect doesn't want to come back here more than once or twice.
You know what it is, I have clients come to me and they're like, I want this, and I'm like, it's gonna be a hard push, so I try to explain to them the direction and things, when I see pictures of historical area, you know what I mean, like certain things, I get it, so.
Appreciate it.
I think it's a timeless look, so.
It is,
At
it
the
is
end of the day,
timeless.
it's like in 100 years, it's gonna look.
Yep.
Yeah, proportions are correct, glass to wall ratios make sense, so I think it's something to stay true to.
Thank you, Brian.
Good job, Brian.
That main house is up there.
I know I saw.
Example of a new structure. All right, we'll move on to 889 Sag Main Street.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks.
James Lukow.
Okay, yes. For the record, I'm Val Florio, I'm here for James Mukow LLC. And what I'm here for today, this is a historic house. It's in the historic district. It's had work done to it where the additions are non-historic. And that's what I'd like to discuss with the board today. As this house presents itself towards Sagaponic Main Street, I'd like to bring attention, you can see clearly on page 1. There's a different PDF that I had sent earlier today, which shows more of the proposed work. But we can work with this rendering here. You can, yeah, on the right side. On the right side of the house, there is an addition which the house underwent a master bedroom add-on, and the look of the building, yeah, this is a newer one. The architecture changed from a 3-bay federal style house into this modern addition here. And what I've come to the board today is request removal of that modern addition, and I would like the house to read as it did when it was built in 1930. Although that stylistically, these 3-bay houses were common throughout every historic district here, 3-bay and 5-bay, colonial or federal style. So the way it would present is we have 800 square feet per floor after removal of the non-historic additions, and the property, which is sizable, allows for a 6,000 square foot structure. So as I had worked on the historic house next door, the intent was to allow it to be the anchor, the element that really presents to the public the history of Sagaponic, but put the addition far to the back, so it's not visible from the street. And in this case, as we look further through the drawing package, you can see this is a view, the aerial view on the right-hand side shows the initial house with a small non-contributing garage. The blue portions show the additions that were put on after 19. I'm not sure the exact date of each addition, but you know, they don't contribute to the house. In fact, they detract from the history. So this intent here is to show our building inspector the actual FAR of the house and what I can reduce the current size to as it would contribute towards new construction. As we head further, this shows documentation of the existing and the portions we want to remove. And then further at this is the proposed construction behind the house. So similar to the house next door, historic portion presents itself very nicely to the street, and we would landscape it so you wouldn't see the additions. One more, flip to the next screen. This is what I would like it to look like from the road, where it reads as it was in 1930. An important year in history, went from the time of prosperity to the time of restraint, because right before or after the stock market crash, and it was rare. These homes were, at a turning point in our country's history, where it was unusual to build a brand new house in 1930 after the stock market went down. But that's the way it looked back then. The chimney on the right side of the house, I have it positioned in the center, and I'm working with the client through the design at the moment. Not sure if it should be a house standalone by itself, preserved as if it were a museum. But the addition to the back, if we flip to the next slide, you can see all of it's, well behind it. And it's difficult to detect if the add-on to this house is a standalone structure or if it's actually part of this home. And what I need to do is talk to the zoning board, because you cannot have two structures on the property that work as separate houses. So we can't do the tunnel because this is now in the flood zone. And the flood zone FEMA days, I wanted to do the tunnel as I've done with many other historic houses, but because of the flood zone, it's crawl space. So the only connection between the two has to be above ground. And if we flip one more slide, you can see this is a garage element, and I've tried to keep it low scale, 1.5 story. So it doesn't compete with a historic house, which is 29 feet tall. However, because of the flood zone, we cannot go higher than 40 feet above sea level. So flood zone construction is quite unique because you can't take 32 feet from the grade. You have to take 32 feet from, you have to take 40 feet from the base flood elevation. So if the grass is at elevation 11, the first floor, has to be 3.5 feet above that base flood elevation. And what I'm limited to is 40 feet. So the new addition can't be any higher than the historic house, which in a way is a good thing because it can never compete with it. But I have to, consider things with my client if we should attach the addition to the back of this house and make the house not an accessory structure, which I think would be fine because all this work is behind it. So it's difficult to tell if it's attached or not attached. But that is more or less what I'll be presenting to your board. I just didn't know what your thoughts with removal of the non-historic additions. And I think
that the removal is great. We've had a similar thing happen. I think it was Parsonage. And a big concern of ours was giving the historic house enough breathing room, even through fencing and almost like real domestic style landscaping, to make it seem like it is its separate kind of structure.
Yes.
And obviously with the main structure or the new structure being diminutive, you'd have a bigger odds because they have a giant thing behind it.
Yeah.
So that would just be one thing to discuss with your client is how it might really sort of give this historic structure its sort of its presence. And
Yeah, if you look back 2 slides, you can see that it really does present to the street. Been very careful about not having 2 competing structures. And with the proper screening, which would be something important, that's what we want to present to the streetscape. And with the tunnel concept, which I worked with our chief inspector on years back, this was a small house off of Town Line Road. That's where the tunnel concept actually came from, where if someone had ability to do a substantial increase to a small home, why envelop that little structure with a massive 4,000 square foot addition so the tunnel actually works and it works well, but I can't do it here. I will point to the site plan because if we go back a few slides, Abby, you can see the second floor, maybe even further. There's a good example. The link on the back of this house is a non-historic addition. However, that could lend itself to a connector between the new portion and the existing. So I can reimagine that shape, but I think the key thing is for zoning purposes, except I would have to go to the zoning board if I keep them detached because we have a 20-foot maximum height. And also, you're not supposed to sleep in an accessory structure, but if I connect first floor or second floor to this building, legally it can be greater than 20 feet and legally it can have bedrooms. So, but yeah, the intent is to get it to speak to the history of the village, and Main Street is an important ingredient in terms of contributing structures, so be very careful with them. But right away, if you look at the cover sheet of my set, which is page 1, you can see that on the bottom right, they've completely changed the look of the 3-bay, federal style. I mean, it reads well. When they did the survey, the national, when I say they, Department of Parks went village by village to document, if requested, to find all the contributing structures and name what they are. And this one is actually, the language that they used was that it was a 3-bay federal style. It's on page 2, where actually they call it colonial style home and contributing. But the additions, Sagaponack did not have an architectural review board when it was under jurisdiction of the town of Southampton. And so anything went. It was like Wild West. You could do anything you wanted to a historic structure. And now we have this board, which thank you for your time, because it makes a big difference in controlling, development and character of our neighborhood. And so now Southampton Town does have an architectural board with a lot of care and concern for historic structures. So that's the story. And I thought if I do come back to the board next month or the month after, I know you can't really comment, but if I do need to bring it to the zoning board, I can say at least I visited yours, and generally speaking, I get a sense that this would be working on favorably. Yeah. Oh, I have a small slide if that would help.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah. This was just to show the.
It's not working.
Okay.
Hold on, let me try.
Yeah.
It's very avant-garde.
Hold on.
It should be down further. And then you have to go to where I was.
What's the distance between the house and the new house? What is that? If there wasn't anything connecting, what's the distance between the two?
There we go.
Roughly 20 feet.
20 feet? Okay.
How about between the back of the historic house and the entrance to the?
It's over, it's approximately 80 feet.
I think the way it's dogleg, I think that would be more the concern than the
Yeah.
garage area. It seems.
Right,
pretty
it's
well
so far back that if you look at this, the intent would put screening between the driveway entry to the back house. And that's an important thing that you brought up, because I feel that the property rises actually a little bit, but the important thing from the road is that you'll never see that arc in the back. And I know that to be true from the house, which is just to the left of this that I had worked on, and you can't see any of the additions immediately from the streetscape. So that, and this house would be further.
You lifted that one.
Yeah, I lifted it.
It's like a super long one that you worked on.
It goes back deep, but the point being here, same thing, going as far back from this home, so it reads as a historic house. And no special permission would be required other than if it stands by itself, I'd have to get approval for the pre-existing condition because it's greater than 20 feet. But if we attach to it, it makes it a legal structure, doesn't need a height variance. And we're also pushing it deeper, a little bit deeper into the property. We would lift it. It's not in the best condition. So we would want to put on a proper foundation. It's an unusual site. The clay is so thick that it catches water. So the groundwater is actually 10, 12 feet below surface, but the surface level water is caught by a clay layer. It's like a swimming pool. Yeah. And the older homes there really had mold problems, really bad deterioration. So trying to preserve it. I have not gotten that far yet to speak with an engineer, but I can tell that lifting it would be a good thing. So
the drive that goes along the left side, the north side, is that leads to what?
Currently it leads to the existing garage, and the intent would be to have a service driveway, to not come in, but rather just, I can do one of two things, is really differentiate and do that as grass block at some point and not make it appear estate-like, but it still reads as a cozy farmhouse, and that's important. I deliberately don't show vegetation, so I don't hide the architecture when presenting to the board, because I feel that's fakery, where I can show trees all day long that you won't see anything behind it. So, yeah, but that's the general concept. And
it would be nice if it stayed separate, but I mean,
It would read, I think it would read separate regardless, which is.
Yeah.
It will. I thought of that too, because I haven't gotten that far with the client. Even if it's connected, it's really difficult to tell.
Yeah.
And then if it's standalone, but the important thing, I want a clean application so it doesn't get complicated with zoning. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's I felt important to bring to you as a preview, especially if it's an important house.
Yeah.
Make you and your client for stewardship of it.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
You always do a good job preserving. So.
Okay. Appreciate your time. It was a long day.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll make a selection I'll make a motion to select the committee of two for February. Anyone want to raise their hand or looking at fence? Committee of two, anyone?
I'm available.
Okay.
Well, not next week, but
sure. Okay. Okay. Emily and I can do it.
Okay.
So Megan, you and Emily?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.